History loves to romanticize ancient Athens, the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, theater, and Western civilization. We celebrate names like Socrates, Plato, and Pericles. We imagine marble temples and enlightened debate. But beneath the shining ideals of reason and freedom, there existed a world of cruelty so severe that history tried to erase it. This is the forgotten story of the pornai, lowest class of enslaved women forced into prostitution, whose lives were defined not by citizenship, but by ownership. In ancient Athens, pornai lived at the bottom of society, far below slaves working in fields or mines. Their labor was their bodies, sold for the price of 2 barley loaves or a cheap bottle of wine. 6 to 10 men a day, sometimes more. The money didn't belong to them. It went to brothel owners and interstate taxes. The city that celebrated democracy profited from their suffering. There was no age limit. Historical records describe girls only 10 to 13 years old being purchased and branded with hot iron on their thighs like cattle. So they could never escape their identity or their owner. Their bodies were not seen as people, but as investment. Inside the brothels, there was no privacy. Rooms were divided by thin, filthy cloth. Washing was rare. Disease spread without mercy. When a new girl arrived, it was marked by a ritual of public humiliation, an event treated as entertainment. Customers would watch as she was beaten or tortured to break her spirit. For some men, violence was the point. They paid extra not for pleasure, but for the right to hurt, to carve scars, to maim, to leave marks that never healed. Pain became performance, suffering became spectacle, and the city looked away. Even religion did not protect them. During festivals like Dionysia, these women were handed over for free to drunken crowds, offered as living sacrifice in the name of gods. Many died from internal bleeding, infection, or exhaustion. Their bodies were thrown into ravines outside the city walls. No burial, no name, just disposal. Punishment was constant. Spill wine, days locked without food, attempt escape, crucifixion, or branding on the face. Pregnancy was considered damage to property, solved by forced abortions or newborns quietly killed. The average life expectancy of a pawn was barely mid-20s. Few survived long enough to grow old. Some became favorites of wealthy men, living in nicer rooms and wearing jewelry, but they were still property, disposable, replaceable. And then, history erased them. There are no monuments, no graves, no records written by their own hands. A society that immortalized philosophers and generals buried these women in silence, turning their pain into jokes in theater comedies and erotic art on painted vases. Athens preached freedom while denying humanity. The city that taught the world about justice built its foundation on invisible suffering. So what do we do with this knowledge? History isn't only the story of triumphs, it's the story of who was silenced, who was sacrificed so others could rise. We cannot admire democracy without acknowledging the people it crushed. We cannot celebrate civilization while ignoring the voices it buried. The pornai remind us that progress often hides cruelty, and that every society, ancient or modern, must ask who pays the price for greatness. The question is not whether Athens was evil. The question is what we choose to see today. Will we repeat the silence, or will we remember the forgotten, share their story, keep their names though history erased them in the light they were denied in life? Because every civilization must be judged not by its heroes, but by how it treated those who had no power at all.